Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story yourself to share or have comments about this podcast? Love to hear from you. Just email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. This is BJ Odom, the guy with more parts than a chicken nugget. It's my new memoir. It's packed with laughs, heart, and the unbelievable true story of survival you've heard me talk about right here on The Gift of Life. From childhood all the way until, today. It's called More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, and it's available on Amazon. As we welcome you to episode 103. Today's episode is one of those moments. We meet David Rhoades, a man who has spent the last 52 days in the ICU, holding on with everything he has while waiting for a new heart. But what stands out the most about David isn't just his fight, it's his faith. He's praying, not only for himself, but for others waiting just like him. And even more powerfully, he's praying for the families who may soon face loss so that he and others can live. It's a humbling reminder that every transplant carries both a miracle and a sacrifice. So today, as you listen, we ask you to join us in prayer for David and all of those who are waiting, and for the families whose love becomes someone else's second chance. We'll meet David coming up next. Hey, David, so nice to have you on the podcast today. And as always, we like to start out by learning a little bit about you, David.
Okay, well, I'm 58-year-old. I live I'm back and forth from Cape May to Philadelphia. I worked for 40 years at a company called Standard Press Steel in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, where we manufactured aerospace fasteners. So that was my life for a long time. I've had a lot of journeys in my life through cancer. I had a Hodgkin's lymphoma back in about 11 years ago or so, and I had to deal with that with chemotherapy for 6 months, every 2 weeks. So I beat that, and I was thankful to the Lord for that. And then about maybe 4 or 5 years ago or so, about 4 years ago, well, maybe 5, somewhere around there, I had a heart attack, brought into the hospital. They had to do a 4-way cabbage, which is a bypass on my heart, and got out of there. And then within 3 months, 2 of the bypasses, the grafts occluded 100%. So I started having a lot of problems with my heart again. I was brought in many different times to cardiologists and catheterizations, and they had to put me, put stents. I had 5 stents, proceeded to have 5 stents put in my heart. Then I had a pacemaker defibrillator. So everything was going kind of downhill with the heart. I still was working at the time. But it got to a point where they wanted to send me to advanced heart transplant people down here at Thomas Jefferson. And all in the midst of that happened, my company burnt to the ground. Place I worked at for 40 years. So I was in the midst of actually leaving anyway, but it was kind of a weird thing that happened. And I came down here to Jefferson, and I had to go through an evaluation process for the transplant, which everybody does. When you go through, I'm sure everybody knows when they give an organ or get an organ from somebody, a recipient, they go through a process through the hospitals. And I'm at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia. So I start the evaluation. I have my support team. They come with me, and we come from head to toe. They check you out. I'm sure you know that they check you out from head to toe. So that went on for a while. That was in March of, I'm going to say, was it last year? Yeah, last year, March, I started that process. And then I went, finally, in August, they listed me. The beginning of August, I was listed for a heart transplant. Heart transplants are a little different than other organ transplants. I don't know how they work as far as like liver, kidneys and stuff. You might have a better idea because you had a kidney. It starts out with status 6 you're on. So your status 6, it works its way up. It's not like cancer where you're like staged and you go from stage 1, 2, 3, 4. It's status 6 up to 1. So I was listed at status 6. And then you proceed to go on to, now all through this, people are asking me like, hey, are you listed yet? Or, they don't really know what the process is. Just to be listed for an organ, it's a long process. It's a long evaluation process. It's a lot you got to do, and you got to stick to what they say and everything. And, you have to learn a lot because it's a lot to be learned. Of course, it's a big thing in your life that you're going to be, being a gift of life, you know what I mean? A gift of whatever organ you're going to get. So you follow the procedure, and after you're listed, you get status 6. And then as it goes along, you go, come in for right catheterizations, and they check the pressures in your heart, and they assess you, the different doctors, and they say, well, how you're doing, your progression. And my progression was kind of going downward, so every time I came in, I was actually going downward. So they finally said to me December 29th I had to come in for my right cath this past year. It'll be the 2025, the end of 2025. I had a right cath done on the 29th of December. And they said, well, maybe we'll see. Maybe it'll go another 3 months, and we'll bring you in again another 3 months, and we'll probably make your decision, and you'll probably be staying in then. So I came back home, and I met a beautiful lady. Her name's Kathleen, and I told her, I said, listen, we're just going to get married before the end of March, before my next right cath, and because we're going to be fine, because, it'll be 3 months. So we went down to the county office, and we got a license to get married, and we're kind of set it up to be March 7th, something small for us to be, and which I was real happy for and everything. But they called me in 2 days later after the thing and said, you got to bring you in. We're going to bring you in and start you in the process of being in ICU and, waiting on a heart. And in the meantime, I got a phone call the day before they called me to tell me to come in. My brother passed away in the Philippines. He had heart problems and stuff, and he passed away. So I had to call the coordinator up and ask her, Lindsay, I said, listen, can you let me go to my brother's funeral, and all that? She said, yeah. So they finally brought me in on the 27th of January. I started this process that I'm in now, and I've been here for 52 days. So I was listed for 224 days from today. And I was actually been in the hospital for 52 days on an intra-aortic balloon pump, which is called an IABP, short for it. It kind of helps my condition with my condition of the heart that I have. I had a lot of angina, a lot of shortness of breath. So the balloon actually inflates and deflates between the systolic and the diastolic times of your heart. So it's definitely been a beneficial thing to me. I've noticed it. So I'm just sitting in the hospital, BJ, and I'm waiting for that call. There already been guys on my floor that have had dry runs. I don't know if you guys know that terminology with dry runs, where you get taken down and you're ready to get all taken. I had an offer to myself, but not dry run yet. Where they got taken down and they got sent back up. They didn't cut them open or nothing. And it's kind of a depressing thing, but it's kind of God's in your hands, and he knows when you're going to have the right time to get the organ that you need, so it'll be beneficial to all of us that they didn't get what they got. And the doctors that we have here are extremely experienced. Of course, we have Dr. Hoops who does our surgery. He's very experienced doctor. He's done over 1,000 of these, different kinds too. He's done heart, lungs, heart, kidneys. He's done a lot of different ones. So he's very learned doctor. And even the nurses and the doctors here, they're very skillful. And I find it to be, become like a family. When you're in this setting for a long time, you actually become like a family with everybody. Even the guys on the floor guys are waiting. It becomes like a fraternity, really it does. And it's it's a blessing. And listen, everything I believe myself, that the Lord has his hand in everything that we do. So we just got to take our time and wait on the Lord. And that's what I do. I sit here and I have a journal. I write a journal. I've written lyrics to a song, had a song done. So there's a lot that, you think about when you're inside these hospitals for a long time, because I really didn't think, most people don't think, BJ, when you're going to get a heart or a kidney or a liver or a lung, it's just they're going to call you up from somewhere and come in and that's it. Well, that happens too. Don't get me wrong. But most people, when they're really serious, they're in here for a while and they're sitting in a hospital setting, waiting for a heart. And it becomes stressful. Just the small things like, the thing about like just getting a shower, right? That you take it for granted when you're home. The nutrition, the food that you get in the hospital, take it for granted at home. Everything's taken for granted. So now I'm in that setting and it kind of brings you down a little bit, but you know that you have to do what you have to do to get things done. So that's where I'm at right now in my journey right now, getting an organ, being somebody having given me the gift of life. It's a pretty crazy thing when you think about it, that somebody out there has to have a tragedy for you to have life, and somebody's family has to have it's a complex grief because, their child, their partner, their loved one has to die for somebody else to give life. And that's what organ donation is all about, right? It's the giving of the legacy of life, giving somebody your life, and which is a beautiful thing. But all along there, tragedy has to happen along. So I sit here thinking when I'm looking out my window, waiting for a heart, and I'm saying, somebody has to pass away. Somebody has to go. But, the Lord has to take somebody for me to get a heart. And it's a lot. It's a lot to think about, Yeah,
it's not easy. 52 days, boy. Now has all 52 days pretty much been spent in bed with the IABP
Well, I don't have to. I stay in the same room. Yes, it's a small room. It's an ICU room. The fact of the matter that there's two ways you can go with an IAB pump. You can be femoral or axillary, which axillary is in the arm, like under the arm, going to come in through to the chest, and they go up the aorta with the balloon. So that's where I'm at with mine. So it makes it very much more mobile. I can walk with my machine. It's a lot of wires and stuff. People know it. When you're in hospitals, there's just wires. It's like, actually, the nurses have to be like, I always call them like they're like mates on a fishing boat trying to get all the wire, you know what I mean, untangled. It's funny, but it's what it is. It's a lot of wires. So yeah, I am hooked up to a machine. I have to watch when I go into the bathroom. At least I have a toilet in my room, and I don't have just a commode. I mean, that would be a little rougher, but it's not like a bathroom. You just got like a toilet that opens up to a toilet. So all that stuff, like the privacy, the showers, the food, all that stuff is something that, you got to get used to being in here. So I'm in here for 52. Got a guy that's a little bit, I'm 58, I'll be 59. The guy that's like 67. He's been here 72 days. You got a guy that's 50 years old that's been here 148 days. A lot has to do with when you get organ transplants. A lot has to do with, of course, your blood type. So my blood type is Exxon. I'm AB negative. They told me when I came in here, you'll be good. You'll get a heart quick. But I am also a 6'1", 260-pound guy. So I'm a big dude, So that draws back on the pool that I'm going to get,
Mm-hmm.
And they ask you in the beginning, like, now, I don't know if they ask you guys, you've been through it before. They ask you nowadays, like you got your heart a while ago, I know, BJ, but nowadays they ask you about a DBD and the hepatitis people. Like, they can actually cure the hepatitis. So if you sign for that, it opens up your pool to more people. And DBD opens up your pool to more people. So DBD meaning, say there's a gentleman somewhere or somebody that had a brain, got shot or something, right? But they're on a ventilator, like they're intubated and they're in a ventilator, and the family decides to take them off. Well, you only get 120 minutes. There's a doctor that stays there with that. So once they take that person off, that person could still live. So if that person lives more than 2 hours, that all their organs cannot be used for that criteria. So that's how a lot of guys in here, that's happened to the one guy in here, that's happened already. So it's, but it opens the pool up to a lot more things. So that's where I'm at. I'm actually an AB negative, which is probably 1% of the world has AB negative, which is great for getting organs, but it's not for the O people that are O positive. They all have to wait for an O.
Yeah, I just talked to a gentleman a couple of weeks ago in that predicament, and then he had high antibodies too. So,
it's an antigen. You're A1 or A2. So I'm A2, and that draws me back a little bit too. So that draws me back. Yeah, A1 and A2. There's antigens too. You are correct.
Okay. So, well, hopefully, you'll get your. I was even hoping, because we talked a few days ago. I said, well, what would really be nice, if the day that, or a few days before we have the interview, you actually got the heart.
Yeah. Everybody says it, BJ. Today I sent a thing out. To all the guys here because I'm kind of got all their numbers and all. I've given shirts to them and stuff. We're all very, very kind to each other. I sent a thing out to the guys, and even there's one upstairs now that's put on an ECMO machine. I don't know if you know what the ECMO is.
Yeah.
But he was put on an ECMO, and he's been a close friend of mine too. So I sent a thing out saying, listen, I pray for all of them every day, right? That we all get a chance to get a heart. And I said, hoping that one of us get it before Easter, that one of us will spend Easter with a new life. You know what I mean? So that's what I pray for. So that's what's going on here.
Yeah, it's I guess, of course there was a gentleman who got his heart not long after I did. Now, we were in different rooms, obviously, and I never really, got close to him or anything, but my wife got close to his wife. And so that was kind of a bonding experience for them.
That happens too. My fiancée, same thing. She gets involved with the people, the wives and all that. They talk and, they different things and stuff. And, all of us guys get together and we do walks together. We try to walk together when we can, when the nurses can let us. We try to walk all together. We walk down to this bridge. We walk up a thing, and it's like a bridge going across from one hospital to part of the hospital to the other. And we just stand there, and like the light comes in, and people wave at us, and on the streets and all. It's pretty. We look forward to that. When you're a patient, you look forward to that because you want to have that fellowship with other guys, that are going through the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that you look forward to. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of, in a way, I mean, obviously the process is no fun for anyone, but I wouldn't doubt that helps a lot with morale and other things. Now, I hate to ask this question, but it is a part of life, as you have noticed. Have you lost any of your friends that all kind of hang together up till now?
I've lost a friend of mine, but it wasn't towards any kind of organ thing or nothing. I lost a friend of mine about maybe, it's been about 4 years now. He was one of my closest friends. I used to fish all over the world, a lot of different places we went. And yeah, so we fished all over the world and did things. And yeah, I lost him, and that was kind of tough. And I lost my brother, and of course, stuff like. But nobody to organs, nobody to heart heart things, like as far as hearts. I did go, when I was open heart surgery, when I had the open heart surgery, I did cardio rehab with another fellow that got a transplant. And it was amazing. I was asking them questions, and they bring guys in now, which I really find inspiring. On Tuesdays, we have a roundabout with the heart people. Some people that were transplanted already, you can ask them questions because, after you get a transplant, you can leave all the medicines you took before are gone. Now you have all the rejection medicines that you have to deal with, the tacrolimus and all them kind of things and all. So you can ask questions about that. So it's good to talk to another. I'm sure you have a fraternity with guys that have been transplanted before, because you're doing this right here on an iPod, right? On a podcast. So I'm sure that you know what we're talking about as far as rejections. Well, we don't know that yet. We're going to know that, but that's something that's going to be big in our lives, And when we have them talks with other people that come in to our rooms, they've been transplanted within the last year, a couple of years, and they walk around and talk about it with us. And it's really, really, really inspiring, really, really good for us knowledge information, you know what I mean? So that's and just like you're giving out the information here on your podcast, you're in front, people want to know what's going on. People have been through the things or are going through them like me, or, it's good. It's a good thing, because it's a different, you're having a second chance of life. I want to be married to my wife and go and do things, have some good years and do things, that's why I'm here right now. That's why we're all here. We want to extend our lives, and we have bucket lists. Some people are a little older than others, and you want to get some things done in life. So, yeah, have I lost anybody to actual heart? My dad was heart. My grandpa. That's where I get it from. So everybody asks, well, how do you get this? Well, most of the time it's genes. Yeah. The transplant surgeon will tell you that genetically your DNA is just the way it is. And you're set up the way you are, and the heart's just going to have a problem, So,
well, when you were talking about, the other people coming in that have had transplants and talks with you, I know this episode's all about you, but I did have a very interesting experience myself, as they were having me go in and talk to folks like you that were waiting for transplants. And I did that a lot. And I had one gentleman, they said he doesn't want the transplant. He needs a transplant. And he was on I don't know which exact machine he was on at the time, but was on a machine. And, he just wants to give up. He doesn't want his transplant. And we'd like for you to go in there and talk to him. And as soon as I walked in, I introduced him and I go, I just wanted to come in and say hi, let you know that I had a transplant, and it's been really good up till now. And his wife, she's like, oh my God, you had a transplant. I can't believe you look so good. And it actually got him excited. And then he just, it gave him that boost he needed in order to go on. And he did end up receiving a heart transplant. So I felt that meeting was pretty important for us too.
Well, I agree with you. That's what happens when they come in. And listen, when you're in here for a long setting, you get depressed. There's no doubt about it. You start thinking of things, and your family and your friends, they all see that too inside you. But, you're sitting here waiting for something, and then you get to the point like, they're sticking you all the time, with needles. And all the kind of different things that happen to you. Being in a hospital setting and all, and you just get to the point where, should I even done this? Should I have gone through this? Should I just stop and just live? If I live 2 or 3 years or a year or whatever, and then they do, you think about that, you do. But then you got to look at, like, you going into that room made that guy realize, hey, look at him, look what he looks like. And I have the same thing when guys come in and talk to me. It's like I want to hear from them. I want to know what you feel like, what you felt like after you got done. I've already been opened up once with my heart, so with the open heart. So I have that feeling of that. I don't have a feeling I have somebody else's heart inside me. I don't have that. And that's going to be something that I'm going to have to fight with myself anyway. Afterwards, that's a whole different fight, BJ. That's going to be a whole different fight emotionally, spiritually, everything, So I pray to the Lord that everything will go the way he wants it, then the way things are going to work out for me are going to be good, and I'm going to have time to spend with my loved ones and, be on this earth for a little longer.
Now, I will tell you this. I had triple. I didn't have quadruple or anything, but I had triple bypass surgery a few years before I had my transplant. And that surgery for me anyway, because everybody's different, but I will tell you, for me, that was a harder recovery than my transplant, because I had the transplant a couple of years after my bypass surgery. And, I was like, oh man, is it going to be like, but I felt so much better. In fact, it was unbelievable. And it was a much easier process for me again. Everybody is different. But for me, the process was so much easier after the transplant than I had with my bypass surgery. I'll just let you know that up front about me anyway.
That's a good thing to know, because after my open heart, I actually had to wear one of those vests, them vest, defibrillator vest. Mm-hmm. And I really had a hard time, but actually I dealt with it. I got through it, and I'm a bigger guy, and I'm pretty strong and strong-willed too. You have to go with your will too, So it was hard, yeah. But I don't think, I'm thinking to myself that maybe this will be it's going to be a physical challenge. Don't get me wrong. But I think that maybe the emotional part's going to overtake the physical part, because of having somebody else's heart. Somebody has to die for you to have this gift, and it's an unbelievable thing. So,
and it's so thankful that a lot of those families do let their loved ones live on inside another person. And sometimes when I talk to donor families on this podcast, yes, they are in pain because they lose a loved one, but to know that their spirit, or to know that, they're living on in a way in these donor families' minds. And I think it actually helps them. I mean, it's never an easy thing to cope with, but I actually, as many as I've talked to, believe that it actually helps them to feel their loved ones are living on in other people.
Yeah. That was a question I was going to, I would say the same thing too. I would think that, but here's a question. Like I didn't ask you, how long did it take you to talk to your donor? Like that's the questions that we ask. Like I've been to these things that we prep us when we go through the evaluation. They also have these little things we have here at Thomas Jefferson that it actually, like LVAD and transplant people come together and we talk. Even before you have transplant, people that are transplant, people that are on LVADs. So we have meetings, like it could be whether it's about what kind of nutrition you're going to do after you get out. The Gift of Life company, they have a thing where they come in and talk like about donors, like when can you contact them? When can you do that? So that was a question I had to ask. I'll ask you.
Well, as far as I know, I mean, you can do it immediately. I think they, do give them a little grieving time, like a few weeks or whatever, but it's going to take you a few weeks to heal anyway. But let me tell you this, that was one of the hardest letters that I ever had to write, because it is so difficult to tell a mother or a father or a wife that, hey, I'm feeling great. I mean, I'm doing things that, I used to do that I haven't done in years again. And this is just, it's a wonderful thing. And thank you so much for this wonderful gift of life. Now, every person is different, but the donor families that I have talked to, they enjoy that, and they enjoy hearing that we're doing, great. But now, because of HIPAA laws, some will never get back to you. Like I've had a heart and a kidney, and I have written my letters to both, and neither one has gotten back to me. So I've had no relationship with my donor family. Now I know a gentleman. I know a gentleman that's had a heart transplant a few months before me, and his donor family and him, they actually spend some holidays together. They get together like a few times a month and actually have dinner together. And the gentleman had some children. The whole family gets together. And then I've talked to other people like me that have never heard from their donor family. So you just never know. But that letter to me was very hard to write. I will tell you that.
Yeah, it probably was. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, my Kathleen, the girl I'm going to marry, she actually comes up here and they have the Gift of Life program. It's they have a actual called a Hallie House, and it's a place where people can stay, donors, families can stay, recipients, and while they're either getting transplanted or after, and it's right down from like a mile away from the hospital, which makes it a lot more feasible for families that live, like we live a little bit far away. We're from like Cape May area, even though I have properties up here in Philadelphia. I live in the Cape May area now, so New Jersey. So there's a distance there. It's a good hour, 45-minute ride up to the hospital here. So she could stay actually in a place, which is really pretty cool. I don't know if you have that where you were at or anything like that, but that's something that people have to look into. Maybe the Gift of Life program offers that in a lot of different big cities. They have facilities for them.
Yeah, now it could have grown since I had my kidney transplant in 2015, but at Tampa General, they have 2 houses that are close to the hospital, and they may have more by now, but they call them, transplant houses. And it had 3 and 4 bedrooms. So you got a bedroom, but the common area, like the living room where the TV was and the kitchenette and everything, that was like for everybody that was staying there. But, you got your own bedroom, but then the rest of the house you had to share. So they did have a few of what they called transplant houses when I got mine. And like I said, that was quite a while ago too.
Mm-hmm. This is more of a setting, like a hotel setting, and they have dinners every night. They put dinners up for every night. People come and set up dinners. And what she really doesn't make the dinners because she's usually here with me. But it's a place to stay. It's very, very affordable. It's only like $40 a night, and it works out pretty good for her, So it's just a really good thing that they have that Gift of Life program has. So I think the Hallie part of it. House is named after a person that donated money or somebody who had a transplant.
Got it all started,
Her sister, I think his sister had a transplant, so he wanted to, be full philanthropy, or whatever. So.
Well, David, I want to wish you the very best of luck. And, like I said, keep in contact, and we'll do another episode, after you get your transplant and you're running around and you're married, you get that fiancée married, and you're doing all these bucket list things, and it'll be great to talk to you then. Now, before we do let you go today, any last words or anything that you want to bring up here on the podcast? Because it's all about you right now, and I'm going to let you take the microphone and share what you want to share.
I would just say to everybody, continue to pray for all these people that are in the hospitals. Now I got a little gist of how it is to be, and that's all over the world, all over the United States for us. But just to pray for everybody that are waiting for hearts, and pray for the families of the donors that are having to have this happen to them, whatever tragedy happens to them. Like I says, I'm sitting here, we're all sitting there waiting for our life to keep on going, and their life has been tragically halted by whatever incident happened with their loved ones. So just pray for everybody that are in hospitals waiting for organ donations and the families. That's what I would have to say to everybody out there.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing your amazing story with us, and the very best of luck for you to get that gift of life, that miracle, that heart that you are looking for. Be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode as we celebrate Donate Life Month here on the podcast. And if you have a transplant story, email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Facebook, and don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends, as we would appreciate that 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Reminder, my memoir, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, isn't just a medical story. It's a memoir of my entire life, my survival, the story that's filled with humor, hope, and heart. It'll make you laugh, maybe cry, and definitely believe in second chances. Get it now on Amazon. More parts than a chicken nugget. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself and my former radio morning partner, Bill Stevens. BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. And we want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.